This is Philip with another little update from the Explain world. So 2 weeks ago we had Aero Expo 2018 at Lake Constance in Germany, which is the biggest general aviation show in Europe. And I made a video about that, how we were going to go there. Surprisingly enough, I made that video in German and I had about as many views as I had for the previous videos. So currently I'm talking, well, if it's the same audience for the videos, I'm mainly talking to a German speaking audience apparently. Uh, yeah, so for future videos, it would be helpful if I uh, knew which language you guys speak. So if you depend on my videos being in English, please leave a comment below for English only, please. Or otherwise, I might as well do future videos in German exclusively. Yeah, please let me know about that. All right, so Aero Expo 2018, big show. Last numbers I have 31,000 visitors over the course of 4 days, which compared to 500,000 visitors in Oshkosh, of course, is small, but it's the biggest event of its kind in Europe. 360 exhibitors. Of course, the flight sim part of the show is a lot smaller, so the flight sim part of the show was only half of, in total, I think eight big halls they had. So FS conference, so flight sim conference is only a small part of the show, but as far as I know, from what I heard, they're going to do it again next year. So maybe we can establish this as the flight sim event inside the Aero event in the future, and that would be really nice because I like the show. I like the airplanes that were on display there, talking to all the people. Yeah, getting a few pilots who have no idea about flight simulation come into this part of the show and see what we have and see what we do. That was awesome. That was nice. I got to fly VR with the new Vive Pro headset, though not an X-Plane. I got to use the Vive Pro using Aerofly FS, which is a great simulator for VFR. So for just flying and looking at pretty landscape, absolutely amazing scenery. It's a great simulator. So I got to use the Vive Pro with that. The resolution is better. I like that. I'm not quite sure if I would spend that much money if I already have a Vive or an Oculus. If it is worth this much money just for a little better resolution. So I guess my recommendation is if you don't have any VR equipment right now, the Vive Pro is certainly the best thing to get because the resolution is awesome. But if you already have the Oculus CV1 or the Vive as it was current until, I don't know, last week, keep it and just wait for more amazing things to come. That will certainly do. Yeah, so another thing that was really great at Aero is I got to look at all the electric aircraft. And of course, all the Americans watching this are going, huh, what is he talking about? Electric aircraft? What is this? Yeah, so over in Europe, where fuel, especially avgas, is just ridiculously expensive, there's a lot going on towards making full electric or electric hybrid aircraft. Actually, not so much hybrid. I don't think I've seen any working hybrid aircraft beside prototypes, I guess. But full electric aircraft for training, that is certainly a thing. The Pipistrel Alpha electric trainer was just certified by the FAA, and there's 4 aircraft delivered to California right now. For a project that is called, what was it called? Sustainable Aviation. I think I'm going to put a link in the comments about the project. So basically what they're doing is they have a flight school and they're going to equip it with 4 full electric aircraft. And the Alpha Electric actually achieves right now a 1-to-1 ratio. So what they're doing is they can fly it for 45 minutes, which for teaching initial students just doing traffic patterns, takeoffs and landings, and a couple of uh, um, ground reference maneuvers. 45 minutes for an initial student is plenty, because the attention span, or well, not the attention span, but the ability to process new information and learn new things, especially if you've never flown an airplane before, and so your first time yeah, experiencing flying a real aircraft. After 45 minutes, your brain is toast anyway. So 45 minutes of flying and 45 minutes of charging. That's what they are getting out of this full electric aircraft. And for a flight school, that is very appealing, obviously, right? So you just have well, the charger, which is the same plug as you would use it in a Tesla. And I think the charging technology is actually from Tesla, or licensed from Tesla, something like that. I don't know. I need to look that up. But essentially, they have the plug on the ground. The aircraft goes to fly for 45 minutes. After 45 minutes, you still have 30 minutes of reserve if you absolutely need to get home or something. But 45 minutes of usage is kind of where the battery is most efficient. So you fly around for 45 minutes. You still have a backup reserve for another 30. You land, you plug in the plane, you go in, you debrief one student, you brief your next student, and by the time you're done with that, the plane is already charged again for another 45 minutes. And I think that is absolutely amazing. So yeah, 4 aircraft of this kind coming to California, and of course many more in Europe, obviously. There's Magnus Aircraft. They are going electric. They have an X-plane based trainer. And of course, Pipistrel also has an X-plane VR-based trainer that they showed at Aero. I sent multiple tweets about that because the setup is amazing. They just take the fuselage off the plane, so the part of the plane minus the engine part, minus the tail, minus the wings. It has all the flight controls in it, so the stick and the rudder pedals and the throttle control and the brake lever and the flat lever, and the controls for the trim and the control for the speed brakes, and I think that's it. And you sit inside the fuselage. They have the Oculus tracker mounted in the panel, or behind the panel rather. So you sit in the pilot seat, you put on the Oculus, and you're in a defined seat position. So you actually see the panel in VR exactly as it is in front of you. And then you grab the controls. The controls are there as physical hardware, and you're flying wearing the Oculus Rift, and the result is absolutely amazing. It's just incredible. Yeah, and the chief test pilot for Pipistrel, he is absolutely he's in love with X-plane, and so they tuned the flight model first of the piston aircraft and now also of the electric aircraft with an X-plane, and they are getting amazing results with that. And I have actually set up the girl who does the flight model and the plugin for that simulator. And Austin, because Austin is working on, well, electric aircraft stuff himself right now. So yeah, electric aircraft simulation X-plane is definitely a thing that will become more important. And yeah, they're working on that, and that's great. All right, so much for Aero 2018. What's next? Yeah, Flightsim Expo in Las Vegas is next. So June 9th to June 10th this year. We're at the Flamingo Hilton in Las Vegas, Flightsim Expo. Besides us, Orbix is of course a major sponsor, so they are going to be there. PMDG is going to be there and make a major announcement. I have no idea what it is. I don't know if it's an X-plane product or a prepared product or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, but they are going to be there. And all of X-plane is going to be there, the whole team. So the Americans and the Europeans, we are all there. We have 2 guys from Germany, 2 guys from Italy, yeah, all the guys from the East Coast and from Kansas, excuse me. That's the North Carolina pollen right there. Yeah. So the whole X-plane team is in Las Vegas. Step in, yeah, come to our booth. say hello, shake hands. Everyone is there, and whether you want to complain about flight model, you want to complain about the UI, you want to complain about the weather, you want to complain about the avionics, or you want to complain about the scenery, everyone is there, so you can just complain to everybody in person. Isn't that great? So yeah, just totally come to Las Vegas and say hi to everybody. And I guess by the time we're in Las Vegas, 10:30 is hopefully going to be in beta. So some people who don't use VR are not quite happy with 1120 right now because it's all VR centered and stuff, and they're missing like quote unquote real features. I guess to them VR isn't a real feature. But yeah, you can rest assured then that in 1130 there's going to be a lot of physics and systems and flight model features. So Austin is working full force on fuselage modeling of how the air interacts with the fuselage, how the slipstream of the propeller interacts with the fuselage. This is going to drastically improve handling of tail draggers, which some people have been complaining about very vocally. And yeah, this is totally change that is major changes in X-Plane 1130 for that. I've been working on some system stuff. You're going to get new autopilots. I've been working on oxygen systems and de-ice systems. You're going to get TKS anti-ice and inflatable boots anti-ice and all that stuff. So yeah, a lot of physics and systems stuff in 1130. So after the very VR centric 1120, I think 1130 is going to be another release for the hardcore flight simmers that don't really care about VR but care about the accuracy of the simulation. So yeah, 1130 is for you guys, I guess. Yeah, so I'm going to fly out to Las Vegas, obviously, on the 8th. And I'm going to be on Southwest. And have you seen this? There has been a freak accident with a Southwest plane where they had an uncontained engine failure. Yeah, when I saw the pictures, I thought, oh my god, I couldn't believe that this much damage can actually result from a fan blade letting loose. And so I want to make a point of this is not usual. An uncontained failure is the rarest kind of engine failure there is. So nobody needs to be afraid, oh my god, all 737s are unsafe, or all CFM engines are unsafe, or oh my god, I'm afraid to go on a Southwest plane right now. No, absolutely not. Uncontained engine failures are kind of the rarest thing there is. And yeah, it's statistically speaking, it was an absolute freak accident that well, it does not make me uncomfortable going on a Southwest 737, nor should it make you uncomfortable. But seeing those pictures, that was just yeah, amazing in a weird and of course with the one fatality in a sad way, obviously. Speaking of freak accidents, there has been a change in the FAA rules with regard to commercial and CFI check rides. So effective last week, you no longer need a complex aircraft for your commercial or your CFI check ride. You still need 10 hours of 10 hours of time in a complex aircraft. And you still need the complex endorsement, which of course, by the time you have 10 hours on one, you're of course going to get it. Yeah, but the requirement for the check ride has been removed. And this seems like awfully convenient for the guys who just grounded all their arrows after the freak accident in one Aero. So I just talked to the owner of one flight school here in the area who obviously also uses an Aero for complex endorsements, commercial pilot and CFI training. Yeah, and according to him, the thing that happened there where one Aero just lost its wing, yeah, that is also a freak accident. Aircraft don't normally just lose a wing. So yeah, so it's Piper actually says this is an area you need to inspect on the annual because there's two different metals meeting at this point. So two different metals. Of course, this is a source of corrosion or can be a source of corrosion. So this area absolutely needs to be inspected for the annual, and everyone who has an Aero knows this and does this. So I cannot imagine how a major flight school, a major university that has standardized procedures for their maintenance of their big fleet. I cannot imagine how something like this can have slipped through. So very strange. Yeah, and following the grounding of the arrows, the new FAA ruling seems to be awfully convenient for them. So what happened behind the scenes there, who knows? Yeah, and to finish off this real flying section here, I guess, yeah, I came here to North Carolina a couple of days ago on a Dreamliner. So first time I've been as a passenger on a 787, 787-9 actually, and I must say it's amazing. The passenger experience is just phenomenal because the cabin is so wide and you have so much headroom and it's quiet. It is amazingly quiet. And the air quality is just so much better because the air is not as terribly dry. So I took a little nap flying on the plane, and I didn't wake up with my nose feeling like sandpaper, and it's amazing. So being a passenger on a Dreamliner is just great. Yeah, I got a chance to talk to the guys in the cockpit as well, and the cockpit just struck me as a little weird in between, I guess, times. Because everything looks like it is supposed to be touchscreen, but it isn't. You have like they call it a cursor control device or a trackpad, with which you move the cursor around on the screens, which I guess is very convenient for turbulence. So if you get bounced around in a turbulence, you're not really going to have precise control for using a touch screen. But the user interface for the FMS, the CDU, that seemed awfully clunky because on the old style CDUs, you had your line select keys and your keyboard beneath it and the function keys, and you could just fix and LSK1 and 93 degrees and bam, exec, boof, and you had your fix or your holding or whatever. And here there are no buttons anymore. So they select the cursor control device to be on the CDU screen, and then they move the little mouse pointer to the fix or the init ref or the route button, and then they press click, and then the page comes up, and this takes like twice as long as it did when you could just push a physical button. So I am amazed who came up with this kind of user interface. Yeah, it does not seem very practical to me, but then again, of course, I'm not 787 type rated. I have no idea how it is, what it is like to use it in practice. I guess you get used to it, of course, but it seemed awfully weird to replace the CDU with a virtual CDU that is not a touch screen. It's very weird. Yeah, and the other thing that I noticed that is awesome, the autopilot is structured similar to the 777, but all the displays are a lot higher and have two lines. And yeah, why would you have a two-line display on the heading and altitude for the autopilot? And the answer is they can actually uplink a clearance via CPDLC, and then if the clearance has a new altitude or a new heading, it appears in the second line on the MCP for the autopilot. So it's kind of like a standby heading and a standby altitude on the autopilot, like you have standby frequencies on the radios, and then you have transfer buttons for like speed and heading and altitude. And with the transfer button, you just you flip the uplinked cleared altitude right into the active altitude window of the autopilot. I've never seen that before, but that seems like an awfully convenient feature. Yeah, so but then again, this CPDLC, where is it used? I mean, over the North Atlantic, obviously, but yeah, flying out of New York and into LAS or whatever, yeah, you're not going to use CVDLC uplinked altitudes and switch it into the autopilot. At least not right now. Maybe in the future. Yeah, and after I flew on a Dreamliner, I flew on a CRJ 200. And every time I'm a passenger on the CRJ, I obviously uh, try to talk to the pilots afterwards and ask them a few questions for totally unknown reasons, obviously. So yeah, I learned something about the autopilot and the flight director on the CRJ. That was quite interesting, because I had read, of course, the FCOM, the operations manual of the CRJ 200. God knows how many times, and something wasn't clear to me how it worked, and I programmed it like it was in the manual, and um, and it seemed weird to me that it would work this way. So I got to talk to the pilots on this CRJ 200, and they actually let me poke a few buttons in there. Of course, this was all on the ground after the rest of the passengers had deplaned. We were hanging out in the cockpit and talking, so this was done responsibly. It's like not that you think that I walked up into the cockpit mid-flight, poked a few buttons. No, of course not. No, all done safely on the ground. No passengers. Yeah, so I got to poke a few buttons on the CRJ 200 on the ground, and that solved a few mysteries about the autopilot for me. That was quite educational, and yeah, and now I sat down and program it exactly how I found out by poking the buttons. And yeah, and I'm going to get mail on this. I swear, when we release this, some point in the future, not going to say any dates here right now. Yeah, the second this is released and someone tries to turn on the autopilot on the ground and tries to do something, he will hit the forum and says, "I can't believe that this doesn't work," and then I can say, well, it doesn't, because I tried it in the real plane, and that's exactly how it's supposed to work. All right, so let me take a look at my notes. Yeah, I talked about everything about Aero, about Flightsim Expo, about Aeros, about Dreamliner, and about CRJ, and about X-Plane 1030. So that concludes my little video update here. Yeah, if you like this this setting of me just talking about X-Plane news and real aviation news, in between doing screencasts of X-Plane, yeah, please give a thumbs up and let me know if you like this format. And yeah, I guess see you in Las Vegas at the Flightsim Expo, the latest. Thank you.